Rochdale 13 with Alan Kilshaw. It's Toulouse on Sunday. But first off, have you had any more time to reflect on last week's defeat against Widnes?
Yeah, we looked at it. But we were disappointed with some aspects of the game, but we were very happy with others. We did compete very well for the first 20 minutes, and you know, you'd like to think if we compete like that with that intensity against teams in League One, then we'd come up with a different result. We're not going to get challenged as much as we were challenged on the weekend defensively, and when we had a set line, they found it very difficult to break us down. We were disappointed with our attack. We're doing a lot of good things in practice, and it's frustrating when you do those things and it doesn't deliver on the field, or we don't execute that on the field. So it's a big focus for us this week. We had a really good review on Tuesday. And we had a good chat with the leadership group of the team, and just for little things that we're looking for this week and beyond. We've got a tough couple of weeks coming up, so we need to make sure that we are converting that practice into performance.
Dennis Betts were quite critical of Joe Taira's challenge last week. Obviously it's a bad one, we've watched it back. What's your opinion on it?
Yeah, it wasn't pretty. It was a bad challenge, and Joe knows that. It was a little bit clumsy. Joe's just come on and he wants to make an impact, and he knows he can't do those things at this level. A little bit disappointed that it got so much media attention, and I'm not sure we need to comment on things that the judiciary will then look at. And there was some really bad challenges over the weekend in other games that I've witnessed, and we just hopefully keep the faith that the powers that be and let them get on with the job. I know Dennis had concern for his player, and I can appreciate that, but I do think it was blown out of proportion in the media, and you know, Joe's looking at a 5-game ban now, and just hopefully those comments in the media won't affect the disciplinary committee when they sit and meet Joe next week.
And obviously Toulouse, another team that's part of this expansion plan that the RFL have got. There's strong rumours that have circulated over the past few weeks, especially that there'll be another one next season in Toronto. Just wonder what your view is on that.
Well, I'm all for expansion, but I do feel they need to be, if they are getting parachuted in, they need to be parachuted into the right competition. It's a little bit of an unfair playing field if you're getting standalone teams. For example, Toronto, they've got a lot of sponsorship to go at. They've got TV deals to go at that we can't get. You know, players as well. We're competing with your Oldhams, your Swintons, your Salfords. You know, for fan sponsorship, all those things, and then we're also under the RFL and a TV contract there. So it's very difficult for teams in our competition. And even in the Championship to compete with that. I'd say the same for Toulouse. Toulouse are a full-time team. They beat Lee last week, who were top of the Championship. So they're no mugs, and going into a League One division and being full-time, yeah, we can talk about salary caps and little, you know, things like that, but it's maybe a little bit of an unfair playing field that you keep parachuting these teams in. You know, if they're full time and they've got those resources, then to go up every year, then one of these sides, you know, unless they're doing things really wrong, will go up, and that's frustrating. You know, especially when you've got part-time teams and you know some very good teams in our competition. And look, if we're backing those teams, let's back other teams as well. You know, who have been around longer, traditional teams, you know, Whitehaven, Workington, Oldham, ourselves, your Yorks, your Keighley's, just for, you know, example off the tip of your tongue, that have been part of the fabric of the game, you know, since the start of it and beyond. So yeah, you know, it does differ opinion. It is a good challenge, and you know, I do want to see these teams in, but we need to make sure that we're on a level playing field. They're getting, you know, the same restrictions that we're getting. So for example, Toulouse have a couple of Australian players that couldn't play for anyone in our division or even the Championship, just due to you know, visa laws and governing body laws. So I do believe that it needs to be looked at a lot closer. Toronto come in next year and you're playing them away, then you lads are going to have 2-3 days off work. You know, if you're doing it right travel wise to get over the flight. So these things need to be looked at. We'll put faith in the governing body and make sure they do their due diligence, and we'll see what comes out in the wash.
And something else that's been mentioned over the last week or so is dual registration. Again, I think everybody's getting tired of hearing it now. We've got, obviously, Tom Lineham's been rumoured to be playing for us at weekend. It's come from Tony Smith first. Did you know about it first before Tony mentioned it?
Yeah, look, the way we do it is I'll speak to the football manager, Carl Fitzpatrick, and I'll speak to Tony early on in the week, and it's a two-way conversation. I'll say I need these positions, have you got this? And they might say, well, we've got this and we've got that, and that's the conversation. We don't have to pick anyone that they offer to us on dual registration. So if they offered us 6 players a week, we may only pick one, we might not pick any. This week we asked for a winger. Chris Riley will be on one wing, and we just felt that we needed a winger. Dale got knocked out last week, and you know, we knew early week that we'd need a winger. Tom Lineham was available, he played in reserves last week, and that's the way it goes. They don't train with us once a week, they train with us twice a week, and I'd like to say we don't have to select those players. I believe Tony said in the press that Tom Lineham would be possibly available to Rochdale. He didn't say we had to play him, and that's the same saying. Tony says that to me. You don't have to play Tom or whoever. It's a two-way thing. And dual registration, you know, it differs opinion again. Look, it works really well for us. It's not just about the players on the field. Ryan Bradley, our CEO, spent a couple of days at Warrington looking at their marketing and how they do things, ticketing. For example, I spend half a day a week at Warrington watching and observing their sessions. There's a little bit of sharing best practice and CPD, taking that back to our coaches and our players. We work closer, you know, off the field, again sharing ideas. We use their facilities, and they also use some of our players in their reserves. So, you know, for us, if there's not a structured reserves competition, where are these guys going to play? At the start of the year, we sat down and we were given a list of positions and players that might become available to us. So we only went with a 25, 26 man squad, and we went with the players in the positions that would be short. Wingers was one of the positions. If you look at our squad, you know, we're light on wingers and we're light on halfbacks because of what we may be made available throughout the season. So the lines of communication are open. Dual registration is working well for us. If people want to criticise it, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I'm sure Tom Lineham and Joe Philbin, who we've both got this weekend, will come and have big performances. Joe had a really big game against Hunslet and helped us win that game. Jack Johnson's played for us well again this year. Daniel Murray, Deck Patton played the other week. So we'll use them when we need them, and you know, we're happy with it, and that's all that matters. You know, from our end of it, if people want to you know, bag dual regs, and then that's up to them.
I think, is it 10 tries Tom Lineham scored this season in Super League already? Do you think it would be more beneficial for him to go and play in a reserve comp with no structure, no real needle to it, nothing? It's not a competitive setup. Do you think it's beneficial for him to go and play in that setup than it is a competitive League One?
You look at Tom Lineham, and he played reserves last week, so for whatever reason he's not playing in the Warrington first team, he's trying to get back into that first team. He's a quality player, whether it's lack of form, confidence, you know, something else, we don't know that. Whatever the reasons for him not playing, you need to be playing every week. Now they played last week against St Helens, rather, in the reserves. It's only 2 of our lads, you know, as well. But they haven't then got a reserve game for 4 weeks, because there isn't that many reserves team. They'll play St Helens and Wigan for 4 or 5 games this season. Now, if there's a reserve grade game every week and it's a structured competition, then dual registration probably wouldn't exist. We'd probably have a bigger squad. They'd run but it isn't. So what do people want Tom Lineham to do? Where's he going to get his form back from not playing? If he played against St Helens last week, he wouldn't have a game then for 4 weeks. So he'll be waiting on an injury or just to show up in training. He can come and work on his things here, and it gives a boost for us, because we need to play in that position this week. So, look, you know, the structures of the game I think are being looked at. You know, a proper reserve grade competition would be good. If there was funding for it, we'd run a reserve grade, we'd be in there. But at the minute we're on a needs must, and all our money's on the field in the first grade squad.
And on to this week's game, full-time Toulouse. Are you treating it any different to what you treat Keighley, North Wales or Goals?
No, you can't. They're one of the top teams in our competition. Just because they're full-time doesn't change the way we prepare for them. We've done video on them. We know they've got some really good players, and they attack well, and they've been picking up some good results. They haven't been tested yet, and I think they'll admit that as well. In the league, obviously they beat Leigh last week, which was a great result for them on home soil. They've had a tough cup game away, Waf Brow, and Waf Brow give them a really good game. And the other game over, you know, out of France was South Wales. And no disrespect to them, they're a developing side. They're going to come against a good Rochdale side this week. We've got some good players in our team, and some good players back available to us from last week in Chris Riley and John O. Smith. And Lewis Galbraith's available. So we're at 25 available players from 26 in the squad. Well, we want to put performance in. We've trained well this week, and we're up for it. I'll tell you that now. The lads are up for it. We'll train again tomorrow morning, Saturday, and we'll be ready to go. And just because they're full time, it will matter over the course of a season that they're full time, because they can prepare better, they can recover, the rehab. But you know, on a one-off game, in a league game. Let's see how they travel, let's see how they go. You know, we've got to get amongst them. They're well coached, they love to throw the ball around. They've got a good half in Ford, and the fullbacks are good players as well. Both of those two play for Newtown Jets and got a little bit of NRL experience. And they've got some really good French players in there. The two Bentleys go well. And they've got an aggressive pack, so it should be a great matchup. You know, any Rochdale fans out there, get to the game, and any neutrals, it's a really good game. You know, with Scotland this weekend, I'd say it's one of the ties of the weekend across all the divisions.